The alien princess cried. Mother, why am I being made to marry a human part? 5. The Cygnus Void Research Outpost floated in the emptiness of space, a collection of modules connected by transparent tunnels. The nearest star was just a bright point in the distance, casting everything in permanent twilight. Inside the main laboratory, Ilara stared at the genetic sequencing displayed on the large screen. Her hands trembled slightly as she traced the patterns. It's true. Then she whispered, Everything, Bishop told us. My people, we were created. Bishop nodded, her earlier arrogance replaced by professional detachment. The evidence is conclusive. Your DNA shows deliberate engineering patterns that could not occur through natural evolution. Samantha stood nearby, watching the princess with concern. They had been at the outpost for 3 days studying the data Bishop had collected. 3 days of revelations, each more shocking than the last. Are you okay? Samantha asked, moving closer to Ilara. The princess turned, violet eyes filled with conflict. I have lived for over 2 centuries, believing my people were ancient and noble. Now I learn we are experiments. Human experiments. She laughed without humor. And I was to marry you to save my species. Samantha hesitated, then placed a hand on Ilara's shoulder. The gesture felt right somehow. The contact between them warm and steadying. Bishop cleared her throat, drawing their attention back to the screen. These markers here indicate the degradation I mentioned, she said, pointing to a section of code. The original engineers built in a failsafe. Your species cannot reproduce indefinitely without new human genetic material. Is that why my mother arranged the marriage? Ilara asked. To save our people. Partly, Bishop admitted. But there is more. Her fingers moved over the controls, bringing up new images, ancient schematics, star maps, weapons designs, the ancient weapon systems I mentioned. They require royal elven DNA to activate, specifically yours. Ember moved closer to Ilara. His size had stabilized at something between his original small form and the massive creature from the station battle. The dragon watched the screens with apparent understanding. Those weapons, what are they exactly? Samantha asked. Bishop looked grim. Planet killers, devices capable of destroying entire worlds, or defending against the Voidborn. The creatures your mother mentioned. She looked at Ilara. The ancient engineers left them as a last resort. Their ultimate protection against extinction, and both my mother and your Admiral Grace want to control them. Ilara said. Bishop nodded. The Queen to protect her people, the Admiral to protect Earth. But neither trusts the other with such power. The marriage was meant to create a shared authority. Samantha frowned. So they were using both of us. Both sides were using you. Bishop agreed. But the threat is real. The Voidborn have been detected at the edge of known space. Their advance is slow but unstoppable by conventional means. Ilara turned away from the screen, moving to a viewport that looked out into the void, her reflection ghostly against the darkness. Ember followed, resting his head against her leg. What do we do now? She asked softly. Before anyone could answer, alarms blared. Throughout the station, warning unauthorized docking detected. The automated system announced multiple vessels approaching. Bishop rushed to a security console. They found us 2 elven cruisers and an Earth battleship. How? Samantha demanded. Bishop shook her head. I don't know. This outpost is completely off record unless. She turned to Ilara. Your tracking implant. The princess touched the back of her neck. Could they have followed us all this way? We need to remove it now. Samantha said. We have maybe 20 minutes before they board. Bishop led them to a medical bay. The equipment was basic but functional. Lie down, she instructed Ilara. This will hurt, as Bishop prepared surgical tools. Samantha stood by Ilara's side. Their hands found each other's fingers, intertwining. It will be okay, Samantha said. The words felt hollow, but she meant them. Ilara smiled faintly. I never thought I would trust a human, she admitted. Yet here I am. Ember growled softly, his scales flashing warning colors. Bishop approached, with a scanner. The dragon watched her every move. The implant is here, Bishop said, touching a spot on Alara's neck, small but powerful. Ready, Alara nodded, gripping Samantha's hand tighter. The procedure was quick, but painful. Alara remained silent throughout, only the whitening of her knuckles as she squeezed Samantha's hand, betraying her discomfort. Bishop extracted a tiny metal device no larger than a grain of rice. Got it, she said, dropping the implant into a containment field. Now we need to move. We'll be here any minute. The group hurried through the station gathering supplies and data. Samantha led them toward the small ship they had arrived in. It was their only hope of escape. They were halfway there when the station shuddered. Docking clamps, engaged voices and footsteps echoed from multiple directions. This way. Samantha pulled Alara down a side corridor, Bishop following. They ducked into a storage room as armed figures marched past a mix of elven royal guards and Earth military personnel. Working together despite their earlier conflicts, they want you badly, Samantha whispered to Alara. Both sides. Alara nodded, her face resolute. There must be another way out. Bishop pointed to a maintenance hatch. Emergency escape pods. One level down, if we can reach them. They moved cautiously through the station, avoiding patrols. The search was methodical, every room being checked. Ember proved invaluable, his senses warning them of approaching danger before they encountered it. At last they reached the escape pod bay, only to find it guarded. 2 elven soldiers stood at attention, weapons ready. We need a distraction, Bishop said. Samantha assessed the situation, then looked at Ember. The dragon met her gaze, his intelligent eyes seeming to understand. Can you? Alara nodded, touching Ember's head. She whispered something in an ancient elven tongue. The dragon chirped, then began to change, growing larger, his scales brightening to near painful intensity. Before their eyes, Ember transformed, becoming a creature of pure energy and light. His physical form dissolved into a glowing mist that flowed around them, then streaked away toward the far end of the corridor. Explosions and shouts followed. The guards at the escape pod bay ran toward the commotion, weapons raised. Now, Samantha urged. They sprinted for the pods. The small vessels were designed for 1 person each. They would need to separate. Bishop reached the first pod, opening its hatch. Samantha helped Alara toward the second. Wait, Alara said, turning to Samantha. I can't leave you. Go, Samantha insisted. They want you, not me. I'll follow in the third pod. The station rocked with another explosion. The sounds of fighting grew closer. Ember was buying them time, but not much. Alara made a decision. She pulled Samantha close and kissed her. It was brief, intense, unexpected. Their first kiss, possibly their last. Then you will find me again, Alara said, her violet eyes intense. Promise me. I promise, Samantha whispered. Alara entered her pod, the door sealing behind. Her bishop's pod had already launched. Samantha ran for the third but never reached it. A stun blast caught her from behind, sending her crashing to the floor. As consciousness faded, she saw boots surrounding her, heard voices arguing. Take her to the Admiral's ship, one said. She's part of this now. Darkness claimed her. Samantha awoke in a cell. The smooth white walls and bright lighting marked it as Earth military design. She sat up, wincing at the pain in her head from the stun blast. Captain Winters, a familiar voice said. Admiral Gray stood outside the cell, a force field separating them. You have caused quite the diplomatic incident. Where is Alara? Samantha demanded, struggling to her feet. The Admiral smiled. The princess is safe with her mother. Where she belongs, I don't believe you. Gray sighed. Then see for yourself. She activated a view screen on the cell wall. The image showed Alara in what appeared to be an elven medical chamber. The princess lay on a table, surrounded by equipment. Queen, Lydia stood nearby, watching as technicians worked. What are they doing to her? Samantha asked, her voice tight with anger. Preparing her, Grace said. The ancient weapons must be activated. The Voidborn grow closer each day. We have no choice. And what happens? To Alara afterward, the Admiral shrugged. That depends on her cooperation. And yours, Samantha stared at the woman she'd once respected. How could you use us like this? It was never personal. Captain Grace said, this is about survival. The human race. The elven species. Everything we know is at stake. She paused, studying Samantha. You care for her, don't you, more than duty required? Samantha said nothing, but her expression must have revealed the truth. Grace nodded thoughtfully. Perhaps that was the real purpose of the arranged marriage. Not just political, not just genetic, but emotional connection. The ancient weapons respond to more than just DNA. They respond to the heart's desire. The will to protect what one loves. Is that why you pursued us? So, relentlessly, Samantha asked. Because I might love her. The Admiral smiled, a genuine expression for once. You might be the key captain. Not just the princess, but both of you together. The perfect balance of human and elven. A new beginning. The view screen changed, showing new images. The edge of known space. A darkness spreading between stars. A moving shadow that consumed light itself. The Voidborn. Grace said, they will be here within a month. Nothing we have can stop them, except the ancient weapons, and those require Alara. To activate them, she needs something to fight for, something more powerful than duty or heritage. She needs love. The cell door opened unexpectedly. Admiral Grace stepped back. Go to her captain. Consider that an order. Escorted. By armed guards, Samantha was taken to a shuttle, then to an elven vessel. The transition was smooth, clearly arranged in advance. The two factions working together again. On the elven ship she was brought dire. The alien princess, cried Mother. Why am I being made to marry a human part? For the station shuddered again, more violently this time. Alarms blared throughout the structure. Warning, ship approaching docking bay, automated voice announced. Who else knows about this place? Samantha demanded, keeping her weapon trained on Bishop. The scientist shook her head, looking genuinely confused. No one. This facility is blacklisted, removed from all official records. Then we have more enemies than friends, Samantha said to Alara. We need to move. Alara nodded, her hand still resting on Ember's enlarged head. The dragon growled low in its throat, eyes fixed on Bishop. What about her? We take her with us? Samantha decided. She has information. We need. The three women and the dragon moved cautiously into the corridor. The station's lighting had switched to emergency mode, bathing everything in dim red. Distant sounds of fighting echoed through the metal halls. Which way to the docking bay? Samantha asked, keeping Bishop in front of her. Left at the next junction, then down 2 levels, the scientist said, her voice tight. But whoever is docking is likely hostile to all of us. They moved as quickly as safety allowed, Ember taking the lead. His larger size still surprising to Samantha. The dragon seemed to sense danger before they encountered it, steering them away from areas where fighting was heaviest. At a junction, they nearly collided with a group of guards. The men raised their weapons but hesitated when they saw Bishop with them. The princess, grab her, one shouted. Before anyone could move, Ember launched forward. His mouth opened impossibly wide, and a stream of superheated plasma erupted from his throat. The guards scattered, some firing wildly, most running. For cover. Run, Alara shouted, grabbing Samantha's arm. They fled down a side passage, Bishop keeping pace with them. Samantha glanced back to see Ember following, his size now even larger, nearly filling the corridor. His scales glowed with absorbed energy from the weapon's fire. What is he? Samantha gasped as they ran. Alara looked grim. Not a pet. Not just a companion. Ember is something else. Something created like my people. Another weapon, Bishop said between breaths. Living weapons designed to protect the elven bloodline. They reached a lift that would take them down to the docking level. The doors opened, revealing 2 more guards. Samantha fired first, hitting one in the shoulder. The other raised his weapon. But Alara moved with unexpected speed. Her hand flashed out, striking the man in a precise spot on his neck. He dropped unconscious. Samantha stared at the princess, who shrugged. "We are not entirely defenseless," she said. The lift carried them down to the docking level. When the doors opened, they found chaos. Black armored troops fought against soldiers in unmarked gray uniforms. Neither side seemed familiar. "Look," Alara pointed. "There at the far end, that smaller ship. It might be our way out." Samantha assessed the situation. The fighting was concentrated near the main docking port, but the smaller ship Alara indicated was in a maintenance bay partially hidden from the main area. "We make a run for it," she decided. "Stay close with Bishop between them and Ember, covering their rear." The Yan group darted from cover to cover, moving through the battlefield, avoiding notice from either fighting faction. They were nearly at the ship when a voice called out Alara. The princess froze, turning toward the sound. A tall, elven woman in formal robes stood at the edge of the fighting, flanked by royal guards. Mother Queen Lydia stepped forward, her face showing relief, tinged with anger. "So this is where you fled." To this human outpost, Samantha tensed, noting more elven guards appearing behind the Queen. "How did you find us?" The Queen ignored her, addressing only her daughter. "Your tracking implant, Alara. Every royal child has one. Did you think I would let my only heir vanish?" Alara stepped back, bumping into Samantha. "Is it true?" she asked, her voice shaking. "What Bishop told us about our people? About the degrading genome?" The Queen's expression hardened. "You have been listening to human lies, not lies." Bishop interjected. "I have the genetic research to prove it. Your species is dying. Queen Lydia, your people need human DNA to survive." A new voice joined the conversation. Cold, female, authoritative, interesting theory. Dr. Bishop, but incomplete. They all turned. A human woman in an admiral's uniform stood with a contingent of Earth military personnel. Admiral Grace. Samantha realized with shock. The admiral smiled thinly. "Captain Winters, I see you found our princess. Though this isn't exactly the retrieval operation I had in mind." "What is happening here?" Samantha demanded. "Why are Earth forces attacking?" "This station not attacking," Captain Grace corrected. "Securing a rogue element led by Dr. Bishop here has been operating outside authorized parameters. We came to shut it down, and to ensure our alliance with the Sylvan Confederacy proceeds as planned." "Queen." Lydia stepped closer to Admiral Grace. The two powerful women stood face to face, neither giving ground. "Your people have violated our agreement," she said coldly. "Testing my daughter's genetic material without consent, a necessary precaution." Grace responded. "The weapon systems require activation. We needed to ensure compatibility." Alara looked between her mother and the admiral, her face showing dawning comprehension. The marriage, the alliance. It was never about peace, was it? Both women turned to her. Grace, speaking first. "It is about survival. Princess, yours and ours. The ancient weapon systems left by your ancestors offer protection against threats beyond our current borders." "The Voidborn Queen," Lydia said softly. Samantha frowned. "The what creatures from beyond known space," the Queen explained. "They have been detected at the edges of our territories. Massive hive organisms that consume everything in their path. The ancient weapons are our only hope of stopping them, and only Alara can activate them." Bishop added, her voice eager. "This is what my research showed. Her specific genetic sequence is the key. The most pure royal bloodline." Ember growled, the sound rumbling through the docking bay. His size had stabilized, now roughly the size of a small horse. His scales pulsed between deep blue and angry red. "No," Alara said, stepping back from all of them. "I will not be used as a weapon. I will not be married off as a political token." She looked at Samantha. "And I will not drag an innocent into this conspiracy." Admiral Grace hardened her expression. "Captain Winters, you have your orders. Secure the princess." Samantha looked at the admiral, at the Queen, at Bishop, then at Alara, whose eyes held both fear and determination. "I'm sorry, Admiral," Samantha said, raising her weapon, "but my orders were to protect Princess Alara." And that is exactly what I intend to do. She fired not at anyone, but at the ceiling. The energy blast hit a power conduit, sending sparks and debris raining down, creating the distraction. They needed run, Samantha shouted to Alara. They dashed toward the small ship Ember beside them, Bishop still their prisoner. The fighting erupted again as Earth forces and Elven guards clashed, each trying to reach the princess first. At the ship, Samantha slammed her hand on the entry pad. The door hissed open. They piled inside, Bishop, Alara, Ember barely fitting through the hatch. Then Samantha. The ship was a research vessel, small but well-equipped. Samantha threw herself into the pilot's chair, firing. Up the engines, you know how to fly this, Alara asked, taking the co-pilot's position. Samantha grinned, I can fly anything. The engines roared to life. The small ship lifted from its berth. Energy blasts struck the hull, but the shields held. Hold on, Samantha called, pushing the throttle forward. The ship shot out of the maintenance bay through a secondary airlock and into open space. Behind them, the Horizon Station grew smaller, weapons fire still visible around its docking ring. Several larger vessels hovered nearby, Elven and human designs clearly recognizable. Where do we go? Alara asked. Her face was pale but composed, her eyes fixed on the readouts. Somewhere neutral, Samantha said, where we can sort through all these lies and find the truth. A place neither the Queen nor the Admiral can reach easily. I know a place, Bishop said from behind them. Her voice had lost its edge, replaced by something like resignation. A research outpost in the Cygnus Void. No official connections to Earth or the Confederacy can. We trust her? Alara asked Samantha softly. We don't have much choice, Samantha replied. And she seems as caught in this web as we are. Alara nodded, then turned to look at Ember. The dragon had shrunk somewhat in the confined space of the ship, now about the size of a large wolf. He curled protectively near Alara's seat, his intelligent eyes watching Bishop set course for the Cygnus Void. Samantha decided, we need answers in time. As the ship accelerated to FTL travel, leaving the station and its warring factions behind, Samantha glanced at Alara. The princess met her gaze, a silent understanding passing between them. They were no longer captor and captive or even reluctant fiancés. They were allies in a mystery far deeper than either had imagined, and somewhere in that realization a spark ignited. Something neither of them had expected. Something that made Samantha wonder if perhaps their arranged marriage might have held more purpose than they knew. Ember chirped softly, his scales shifting to a warm purple gold, as if he sensed the changing emotions in the small ship, as if he approved. The alien princess, cried Mother. Why am I being made to marry a human part? 3, so you are the human they want me to marry. Alara, said her voice soft but clear across the cargo hold. Her violet eyes studied Samantha with open curiosity. Samantha struggled to sit up, her bound hands making it difficult. Yes, Captain Samantha Winters, at your service, Your Highness, she said, trying to maintain some dignity. Despite their circumstances, I was sent to find you. The princess tilted her head, a gesture that seemed both elegant and alien. You were sent to capture me to protect you, Samantha corrected. Those ships were targeting you specifically. I put my vessel between them and your scout ship. Alara seemed to consider this. The small dragon on her shoulder, Ember, chirped and nuzzled against her cheek, its scales shifting from deep red to a curious orange. Is that why you are now a prisoner as well? The princess asked. Samantha shrugged, wincing at the pain in her shoulder. Bad luck. Our shields were damaged. Was stunned during the boarding. The cargo bay fell silent for a moment as the two women assessed each other. Samantha took the opportunity to study her would-be wife up close. The princess was even more striking in person. Her silver hair seemed to catch light from sources Samantha couldn't identify. Her skin had a faint luminescence. Her pointed ears peeked through her hair, which had come loose from its braid during the battle. Why did you run? Samantha asked finally. Alara looked away, her expression troubled. I found something disturbing in my mother's private communications. Plans involving me, specifically my genetic makeup. She was trading me to your people like a laboratory specimen. That can't be right. Samantha said, I was told this was a political marriage to secure peace between our species. The princess fixed her with those unsettling violet eyes. "Perhaps that is what they told you, Captain. But I saw the files myself. There is something in my blood they want. Something unique, even among my people." Before Samantha could respond, the cargo bay door slid open. A tall woman with short blonde hair and cold eyes entered, flanked by 2 guards in the same black unmarked armor as the boarding party. They carried energy weapons, aimed at the prisoners. Well, the woman said. The princess and the captain both secured. "How convenient." "Who are you?" Samantha demanded. "What do you want with us?" The blonde woman smiled, a gesture that never reached her eyes. "I am Kate Bishop, former Chief Scientist for Earth Defense Research, and what I want Princess Elara is to complete my life's work." She gestured, and the guards moved forward, roughly pulling Elara to her feet. The dragon ember hissed its scales, flashing to bright crimson. One of the guards swatted at it with his weapon, but the creature dodged with surprising speed. "Leave her alone," Samantha shouted, struggling against her bonds. Dr. Bishop turned to Samantha. "You misunderstand, Captain. I have no intention of harming the princess. Quite the contrary. She is far too valuable. But you?" She shrugged. "You were simply in the wrong place at the wrong time," with a nod to the guards. Bishop turned to leave, taking Elara with her. The princess looked back at Samantha, her expression unreadable. Then they were gone, and Samantha was alone, or not quite alone. Something warm pressed against her hands. The dragon ember had stayed behind, hidden somehow from the guards. Its small claws worked at Samantha's restraints with surprising dexterity. "You stayed," Samantha whispered. The creature chirped softly, its scales now a determined blue. Within minutes, Samantha was free. She rubbed her wrists, looking at the small dragon with newfound respect. "You want me to help her, don't you?" Ember bobbed its head, in what appeared to be a nod, then scurried to the door, its head tilted as though listening. Then it looked back at Samantha and made a series of soft clicks. Samantha moved to the door, examining the control panel. It was a standard lock. Nothing special. She had broken out of worse situations during her career. With a few careful manipulations, the panel sparked, and the door slid open halfway, enough for them to squeeze through. The corridor outside was dimly lit and empty. Ember took the lead, moving, with purpose, its small body close to the floor. Samantha followed, trying to orient herself. The ship was unfamiliar, but she could tell it was large, possibly a repurposed military vessel. They moved through several passageways, encountering no one. This struck Samantha as odd. Where was the crew? She could hear the distant hum of engines, feel the slight vibration that indicated they were moving at sublight speed. Ember stopped suddenly, its head raised, ears twitching. The dragon made a soft warning sound, then darted into a recessed doorway. Samantha followed, pressing herself against the wall as voices approached. 2 guards walked past, discussing duty rotations. Neither noticed the hidden captain or the small dragon. When they were gone, Ember resumed the search. After several more minutes of careful navigation, they reached what appeared to be a laboratory door. Through the small window, Samantha could see Elara strapped to an examination table. Dr. Bishop stood nearby, studying readouts. On a large screen, Samantha needed a distraction. She looked around, spotting an alarm panel on the wall. If she triggered it, guards would come running, but it might give her a chance to free the princess before she could act. Ember chirped insistently. The dragon was looking up at a ventilation shaft, its claws working at the cover-smart creature. Samantha whispered, reaching up to help remove the cover. Once it was open, she boosted the small dragon into the shaft. Ember disappeared into the ventilation system. Samantha waited, her heart pounding. Minutes passed. Nothing happened. She was about to try another approach when alarms began blaring throughout the ship. Not from her actions, but from somewhere else. The laboratory door slid open as Dr. Bishop hurried out, barking orders to the guards. Samantha pressed herself into the shadows, barely avoiding detection. Once they were gone, she slipped into the lab. Elara looked up in surprise as Samantha began unfastening her restraints. "Your dragon is quite resourceful," the captain said. The princess smiled for the first time, a genuine expression that transformed her face. Ember and I have been together since I was a child. We share a special bond. The last restraint came free, and Alara sat up rubbing her wrists. We need to leave quickly, she said. The distraction won't last long. What did they do to you? Samantha asked, noting. The princess seemed physically unharmed. Took samples, blood tissue. Nothing invasive. Yet, Alara said. But Dr. Bishop was preparing for something more extensive. She kept talking about genetic markers and activation sequences as if summoned by her name. Kate Bishop appeared in the doorway, her weapon aimed at them. Both of you step away from each other, she ordered. Samantha shifted, placing herself between the scientist and the princess. Why are you doing this? Bishop, what do you want with her? The scientist laughed. It isn't just about her captain. It's about what she represents. What her people have been hiding for centuries. What? Do you mean? Alara asked. You really don't know, do you? Bishop said, her voice tinged with wonder. Your mother never told you the truth about your species. What truth? Alara demanded. That you aren't aliens at all. Bishop said, the elves are humans. Genetically modified humans created on Earth thousands of years ago. That cannot be true, Alara said, her voice shaking. We have our own history, our own world. Bishop shook her head. Your history is a fabrication. Your ancestors were engineered by Earth scientists before the collapse of the old civilization. They were designed to survive deep space travel before stasis technology existed. Your pointed ears, extended lifespans, and psychic abilities were all deliberately created. Samantha stared at the scientist. You expect us to believe that I can prove it? Bishop said the genetic markers are clear. The modifications follow human scientific patterns, not alien evolution. And there are records, ancient records that survived the collapse before anyone could respond. A strange sound came from above, a high-pitched whine that grew louder. The ventilation cover burst open and Ember shot into the room. But the dragon was changed. No longer small, it had grown to the size of a large dog. Its wings extended its jaws, open, revealing rows of sharp teeth. Bishop fired her weapon, but the blast seemed to absorb into the dragon's scales with no effect. Ember lunged forward, knocking the scientist to the ground. The weapon skittered across the floor. Samantha dove for it. Grabbing the gun and turning it on Bishop enough, she said, "Get up slowly." The scientist rose, her eyes never leaving the transformed dragon. "That isn't possible," she whispered. The size change. The energy absorption. Alara placed a hand on Ember's now much larger head. The dragon's scales shifted to a calm blue. "It's always been possible," she said. "My companion simply chooses to remain small, most of the time. Less threatening. We need to find a way off this ship," Samantha said, backing toward the door still, covering Bishop with the weapon. "Where are we? What ship is this?" Bishop laughed bitterly. "The Horizon Station abandoned outpost at the edge of known space. No one will find you here." As if to contradict her words, the ship suddenly shuddered violently. Distant explosions could be heard. Bishop looked alarmed. "That isn't part of the plan," she said. A new alarm sounded throughout the ship, a different tone than before. Samantha recognized it. Ship-to-ship combat. Someone was attacking the station. "You two," the princess said to Samantha, and Bishop started explaining everything. "Now what conspiracy have you both dragged me into? I was sent to find you because you ran away." Samantha said, "I know nothing about genetic research or hidden histories, I was told. Our marriage would secure peace between our peoples." Bishop stared at Samantha with sudden realization. "They didn't tell you, did they?" she said. "You really don't know." "Know what?" Samantha demanded. "That the elven—" "The alien princess," cried Mother. "Why am I being made to marry a human Part 2 captain?" Samantha Winters stood at attention before her commanding officers, her face carefully blank. The news they had just delivered felt like a bad joke. A political marriage, an alien princess. Her future decided without her input or consent. "You want me to marry an elf?" she said, keeping her voice level and professional. Admiral Grace nodded, her gray hair cut short around her weathered face. This is not a request, Captain. This is a direct order. The alliance with the Sylvan Confederacy depends on this union. Samantha fought to keep her composure. She had spent 15 years building her career in Earth's diplomatic fleet. She had negotiated treaties, faced down enemy, ships survived 3 major space battles. And now she was being treated like a trading card. What about my current mission? The peace talks with the Orion Collective, she asked. Admiral Grace waved a hand dismissively. Commander Ellis will take over. That matter is settled, Captain. Your new assignment is to prepare for the wedding ceremony. It will take place in 30 days. 30 days. That was all the time she had left as her own person before becoming bonded to an alien princess. She had never met. Samantha felt trapped. Her chest tight with unspoken anger. Admiral, may I at least know which princess I am to marry? She asked. Princess Ilara Thornwood, heir to the Sylvan throne. Admiral Grace said, the alliance will be sealed at the highest level, ensuring cooperation between our species for generations. Samantha had heard of Ilara Thornwood. Everyone in the diplomatic corps had. The elven princess was said to be brilliant, beautiful, and reserved. She rarely appeared in public settings, and when she did, she was always accompanied by her strange pet dragon. A creature that fascinated human scientists. Is that all, Admiral? Samantha asked. Just one more thing, Captain Grace said, sliding a data pad across the table. Your new quarters have been prepared, with appropriate accommodations for both human and elven comfort. You will report there immediately to begin cultural integration. Training? Yes, Admiral Samantha said with a crisp salute. She turned and left the conference room, her mind racing. In her new quarters, Samantha found luxury she had never experienced in her military career. The space was 3 times larger than her old cabin, with living areas, a kitchen, and a bedroom with a massive bed clearly designed for 2. The walls were covered in living plants, a concession to elven biology and their need for plant life. The lighting was softer than standard human ships, mimicking natural sunlight. Cultural integration. Her foot. This was a gilded cage. She had barely settled in when her communication console chimed with an urgent message. When she activated it, Admiral Grace appeared, her expression grim. Captain, we have a situation. Princess Ilara has fled the Sylvan Palace. She stole a scout ship and disappeared. Samantha stared at the Admiral. What? Why would she do that? We don't know. But Queen Lydia is furious. She believes we may have something to do with her daughter's disappearance, but we don't. Samantha said. The Admiral nodded. Of course not. But we need to find the princess before this incident destroys the alliance. Your new mission, Captain, is to track down your wayward fiancée and bring her back. Samantha felt a surge of conflicting emotions. Relief that the wedding might be delayed, concern about this new mission, curiosity about the princess, who had chosen to run rather than marry her. Was Ilara as unwilling a participant as Samantha herself? I will need a ship, Admiral, she said, already arranged. The Intrepid has been reassigned to your command. It's our fastest vessel. You depart in 2 hours. Good hunting, Captain. The screen went blank, leaving Samantha with her thoughts. 2 hours later, Samantha stood on the bridge of the Intrepid, a sleek exploration vessel converted for pursuit. The crew was small, but elite, hand-picked for this sensitive mission. The ship's intelligence officer, Nancy Bennett, approached with a data pad. Captain, we have the scout ship's last known trajectory. The princess appears to be heading for the neutral zone, specifically the region known as the Veil. Samantha nodded, thoughtfully. The Veil. A nebula where sensors were nearly useless, where reality itself seemed to bend. A good place to hide. Set course. Lieutenant, maximum speed, she ordered. We need to catch up before she reaches the Veil. As the Intrepid jumped to faster than light travel, Samantha retreated to her ready room to study everything known about Princess Ilara. The file was surprisingly thin for someone so important, born 207 years ago, still young by elven standards. Educated in diplomacy, science, and the arts. Never married. No known romantic attachments. Always accompanied by her dragon companion named Ember, bonded since childhood. The pictures showed a slender woman with silver hair and delicate pointed ears. Her skin was pale, almost luminescent, her eyes a startling violet color. Her expression in every official photo was the same, polite, distant, reserved. What had made her run? What secrets was she hiding? The Intrepid emerged from FTL travel at the edge of the veil. The nebula stretched before them, a swirling mass of gases and cosmic dust in shades of purple and blue. Sensor readings immediately became erratic. Captain sensor contact bearing 170 Mark IV. Nancy called out, "It's small enough to be the scout ship on screen." Samantha ordered. The view screen showed only swirling nebula gases. "Sensors can't get a clear image," Captain Nancy said. "But the energy signature matches Sylvan technology." Samantha made a quick decision. "Follow that ship, Lieutenant. Keep your distance, I don't want to spook her." The Intrepid moved cautiously into the veil. Navigation became increasingly difficult as sensors failed and visual guidance was obscured by the thick cosmic clouds. The ship relied on occasional glimpses of energy signatures from the scout vessel ahead. "Captain, we have a problem," Nancy said suddenly. "We're picking up other ships in the nebula, at least 3, maybe more. They appear to be converging on the Princess position." "What ships? Who would be out?" Here Samantha wondered aloud. "Unknown, Captain. But they aren't broadcasting identification codes, pirates or mercenaries." Then, this just got more complicated. The Intrepid pushed deeper into the nebula, following the faint trail of the Princess scout ship. The other vessels were closing in from multiple directions, forming a net. Suddenly, the sensors blared with proximity warnings, "Evasive action." Samantha shouted as energy weapons fire lanced through the nebula, grazing the Intrepid's shields. The ship lurched as the helmsman executed a sharp turn. Another burst of weapons fire flashed past them. "Return fire," she ordered. "Target the nearest hostile ship." The Intrepid fired its weapons, but the dense nebula absorbed much of the energy, making the shots less effective. Another hit rocked the ship, sending Samantha stumbling against her command chair, shields down to 60%. Captain Nancy reported hull breach on Deck 3, emergency force fields engaged. "We need to get out of this nebula." Samantha said, "Locate the Princess ship. We protect her first mission, parameters unchanged." Scanners found the small scout ship cornered by 2 larger vessels. It was taking heavy fire, its shields failing. Without hesitation, Samantha ordered the Intrepid to move between the attackers and the Princess ship. "Take all fire on our shields," she commanded. "Tactical, open a channel to the Princess." Before communications could be established, one of the attacking ships launched a boarding pod. It hit the Intrepid's hull with a dull thud. "Intruders on deck." "2," Nancy shouted. "Security teams responding." Samantha drew her sidearm. "We need to protect the bridge," she said. Moving toward the main entrance, the doors burst open and armed figures in unmarked black armor pushed through. Samantha fired, hitting one in the chest. The soldier fell, but more pushed forward. A stun blast caught Samantha in the shoulder, sending her spinning to the floor. Her vision blurred, the bridge filled with intruders, the crew overwhelmed. As consciousness faded, she heard one of the attackers say, "Find the genetic key. The elven princess is the priority. The captain is secondary." Then darkness took her. When Samantha awoke, she was no longer on her ship. She lay on a cold metal floor in what appeared to be a cargo hold. Her hands were bound, her weapons and communicator gone. Her shoulder ached from the stun blast. Looking around, she saw she wasn't alone. A slender figure sat against the far wall, silver hair gleaming in the dim light. Beside her, a small creature with glowing scales watched Samantha with intelligent eyes. Princess Ilara Thornwood and her dragon Ember. Samantha had found her wayward fiancé, but now they were both prisoners. Ilara Thornwood stood in the crystal throne room, her eyes wide with shock. The news her mother just shared felt like a physical blow to her chest. Her small dragon Ember sensed her distress and curled tighter around her shoulders, its warm scales a comfort against her neck. "Mother, you cannot be serious." Ilara said, her voice barely above a whisper. The word seemed stuck in her throat. "A human, I am to marry a human queen." Lydia sat tall on her throne, her face showing no emotion. Her long silver Hair was wrapped in an elaborate crown of living vines that bloomed with tiny blue flowers. Her pointed ears, more pronounced than her daughter's, marked her as one of the ancient royal bloodline. It is decided, Ilara. The treaty must be sealed with a union. The humans have chosen their representative, and you will meet her in 7 cycles. Her Ilara felt her stomach drop even further. A female human would be her wife. The concept seemed so strange. The humans had only made contact with the Sylvan Confederacy 4 decades ago. They were seen as wild creatures with short lives and shorter tempers. Their technology was crude but effective, their numbers vast, their ambition even more so. Why was Ilara being sacrificed for this alliance? Ember made a soft chirping sound and small tendrils of smoke escaped its nostrils. The tiny dragon was no bigger than a house cat with scales that shifted between ruby and gold depending on its mood. Right now they glowed a deep, worried crimson. I will not do this, Ilara said, finding her courage. I am crown princess. I should have some say in who I marry. Lydia stood from her throne in one fluid motion, her robes flowing like water around her tall frame. She approached her daughter and placed a cool hand on her cheek. My child, you speak as though you have a choice. The fate of our people rests on this alliance. The humans grow stronger each cycle, their weapons more deadly, their ships more numerous. We must bind them to us through bonds they understand. A tear slipped down Ilara's pale cheek. Her mother wiped it away with a gentle touch that belied her hard words. Go prepare yourself. The human diplomatic fleet arrives tomorrow. You will meet Captain Samantha Winters, your future wife. Ilara felt her legs go weak at the name Samantha Winters. She had heard stories about this human captain, a warrior with many victories, a diplomat when needed, a leader respected even by her enemies. With a formal bow that hid her face, Ilara retreated. From the throne room, Ember clinging to her shoulder. The dragon sensed her plan before she even formed it fully in her mind. In her chambers, Ilara paced while her handmaidens laid out formal attire for the meeting tomorrow. None of them dared speak. To her, they could sense her fury, an emotion rarely shown by the normally serene princess. When night fell and the palace grew quiet, Ilara sat at her communication console. Her fingers moved quickly over the controls. Ember watched with curious eyes. The princess was searching through restricted files, her mother's private communications. Something felt wrong about this arrangement beyond the obvious. She needed to know why her mother would agree to such a match. What she found made her blood freeze. Encrypted messages between her mother and a human faction. Not the official Earth government plans within plans, mentions of weapon systems, star maps with locations marked in both human and elven script, and worst of all, references to Ilara's unique genetic makeup. They were using her. Her own mother was trading her like a prize animal for something. These humans wanted her for her blood, her DNA. Ilara closed the files, her mind racing. She could not confront her mother, not yet. She needed to escape, to think, to plan. Pack only what you need, she whispered to Ember. The dragon understood immediately, jumping from her shoulder and retrieving a small pouch from beneath her bed. The princess changed from her formal robes into a simple flight suit, black and form-fitting with pockets for tools and weapons. She braided her long silver hair tightly against her head, making sure no strands would float free in zero gravity. From a hidden compartment in her wall, she removed a small weapon. It looked like jewelry. A bracelet of interlocking silver leaves, but with a twist it would extend into a blade of energy that could cut through almost anything. Ilara moved silently through the palace corridors, Ember flying ahead, scouting the way. The night guards were easy to avoid, their patterns predictable, their attention focused outward, not within. The royal hangar held several ships, but Ilara chose the smallest, a scout vessel designed for speed and stealth. She had flown it many times. In peaceful missions, always accompanied, always watched, but she knew its systems well. The hangar doors would alert security if opened normally, so she didn't open them normally. Using her royal access codes, she initiated a maintenance cycle. The huge doors opened slowly as part of the automatic sequence. Ilara and Ember slipped aboard the scout ship. Its systems came online, silently responding to her touch. Her hands flew over the controls, prepping for launch. She would have seconds once the ship moved before alarms would sound. With a deep breath, she engaged the engines. The scout ship lifted gently from its berth and slid toward the open hangar doors. The stars beyond called to her. Freedom, safety, time to think. As the ship cleared the doors, Elara punched the thrusters. The sudden acceleration pushed her back into her seat. Ember chirped in excitement, clinging to a special perch designed for the dragon. Alarms would be sounding now. Guards scrambling, larger ships preparing to give chase. But the scout ship was fastest for short jumps. She had planned this route carefully. The neutral zone between territories was her destination, a place where neither elven nor human authorities could claim jurisdiction. The ship jumped to faster-than-light travel. The stars stretching into lines around her, Elara finally allowed herself to breathe. Normally, her life had just changed forever. She was now a fugitive running from her own people, and from a marriage she never asked for. But more importantly, she was running from a conspiracy that somehow involved her very blood. What did the humans want with her? Why was her mother helping them? These questions burned in her mind as her small ship carried her into the unknown. Ember curled in her lap, sensing her distress. The dragon scales shifted to a calming blue, offering comfort. In that moment, Elara was grateful for her lifelong companion. At least she wasn't truly alone. The scout ship computer showed their position. They would reach the neutral zone in 6 hours. Then she would need a plan, a place to hide people she could trust. Information was what she needed most now. As the ship sailed through the darkness of space, Elara thought of Captain Samantha Winters, the human she was meant to marry. What role did she play in this conspiracy? Was she a willing participant, or another pawn like Elara herself? Somehow Elara would find answers, and then she would decide what to do about the human she was supposed to marry, the human who might be enemy or ally or something more complicated than either. For now she was free, and freedom gave her time to uncover the truth behind why an alien princess was being forced to marry a human against her will.